Okay, being 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in council chambers at 216 Main Street East, I'm told, Swan River, Manitoba, this 27th day of August, 2024 at 7 p.m. Present this evening, myself, Reeve, Gade, Councillors Burick, Kushniryk, Blosha, McGregor, and Zbirun. Our Assistant CAO, Kristi, Ronnquist, is here, and our videographer, Jeremy Byron, joins us as well. We'll pick up the agenda at 1.2, notice of absence. Maybe. There it comes. Be it resolved that the notice of absence submitted by Council Member Terry Neely regarding the regular meeting of council held this 27th day of August 2024 shall be accepted as received. Is there someone to move the resolution? Councillor Kushniryk, and someone to second it? Councillor McGregor. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question in a moment. There we go. We'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried.
Want me to answer that phone or no?
It'll stop and then she'll text every person.
It's not an emergency.
It's not.
No.
Number 2, adopting the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held this 27th day of August 2024 shall be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? Councillor Blosha, and I see Councillor Burick down the bottom. Just so you know, 2 minutes before the meeting started, I did add something. Because it just makes it more fun that way. It's under general business. We'll get to it for Councillor Neely in a minute. He needs a leave of absence granted. Oh, what is this thing? This is not agreeing with me. I can't push something. Okay, so we have a mover, we have a seconder. Those in favor? That is carried. Let's head to the minutes. Be it resolved, the minutes of the regular council meeting held on August 13th, 2024 shall be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? Good job, Councillor Kushniryk. Is there someone to second the resolution?
There's a thinker.
Councillor Zbirun. A copy of the minutes are attached to the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a peek at those? Does anyone need more time with them? Were there any errors or omissions we noted? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. General business 4.1, we'll go there. That's the brand new item. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West grant a leave of absence to Councillor Neely for August 27th and both regular September meetings. So someone would like to move the resolution. Councillor Blosha and someone to second. Councillor Zbirun. Councillor Neely had hoped he would be here tonight, but he's unable to attend the next 2 meetings, and he spoke to me an hour or so ago to let me know he wasn't able to come tonight either. So by agreement previously, we had said we would grant a leave of absence for him. If we don't do this, he would be off council for missing 3 meetings in a row. So by doing this, that isn't an issue for him. He can still return once he's able. Does anybody have further discussion or questions? If not, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We're heading to finance items. I'm struggling because my computer made it this big now. Bank reconciliation. Let's go to general checks first, number 6. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. General checks number 19940 to, that can't be right.
19964.
Must be, it's the extra, the 1 is the extra. To 19964 in the amount of $151,695.54. Is there a mover? Councillor Kushniryk, and someone to second the resolution. I see Councillor Burick with his hand up. I have all of the checks and invoices here. Who would like to start us off with questions? Councillor Blosha.
19944.
9944. So that is the trailer that we were discussing on text message. We wrote 2 checks for a 65 and a 5, so there was some room for negotiation once we got there. Can you tell me what ended up happening?
Yeah, we purchased for 65. The other check has been returned to the finance officer.
Okay, so the second one's being voided, the first one's going through. So we're saving a bit of money.
No, I knew we talked about it, but I just want the,
What's the one next?
I think, so far.
Oh, there must be more. Some Cook Brother checks here. You'll notice there's a refund there as well that relates to the retail sales tax charged over the last 2 years in error. So we're charging that back now because PST was charged on gravel that was exempt. So that affects the payment there a little bit. The building inspector, that's partial payment, so that's the first 6 months. There'll be a second one of those coming up later in the year. Cal Tire, the calcium chloride. This is key to his workshop. It's really dust control, I'm sure. But otherwise, you'll see 19958 is the penalty. I think we spoke about that before. Does everyone recall what that's about, or should I go over it again? You good? We did send off the request for relief, but we haven't heard back from that yet. But stop the interest charges accruing. Seriously, you missed your chance. We're gonna pay it, and then if they do grant relief, they'll refund it. Does anybody else have further questions about checks? All right, hearing nothing else, we'll call the question on the resolution. Those in favor? That is carried. We will go back now to number 5.1, the bank reconciliation of financial reports. As soon as my screen will update. We're not going to pass a resolution on this because this is just the budget report, I think, is what's attached here. But this is the latest budget report. Do you have the paper copy? I can't read this. So the notable things that I've been chasing after is the spending on gravel, as you can imagine. This time of year, that's where we're watching closely. So to our knowledge, all amounts that have been spent up until yesterday are captured in these numbers now. So we're showing a little over 400, I guess it's 380,000 or so left in the gravel haul, apply, supply, and crushing budgets, which is about enough to buy us 40,000 yards of crushed gravel yet this year to stockpile for next year. As you know, we have no gravel at all right now. So if we did nothing else, we would be at budget. By the time we buy that gravel and have it sitting for next year, that would complete the year. However, there's about 18 miles of road still undone in Area 2.
Which is area 2?
The north.
So, okay.
Yeah. So Chad was out checking those today. Paul's been working with him on that to identify which miles got missed by the contractor. Their deadline to complete that is just a couple days away, and it's not looking good because they let us run out of gravel. So it'd be very hard for them to complete it. There is gravel available from Campbell Construction. It's crushed in a pile now. Mr. Barkman will haul that gravel starting tomorrow and finish off those miles up north. So it's going to cost us about 2,500 yards of gravel at $9 a yard, which is a little more than we've been paying for the other stuff, but it's there and able to be done this year rather than waiting another month or two to be able to get available. So it's going to mean some belt tightening someplace. Not quite sure where yet, but there's going to have to be a little bit of belt tightening to make up for that. To the end of last week, I'm going to mute this, I'm going to stop the phone I made. And I have in here the total amount of gravel hauled, which is 47,596 yards of gravel have been applied to our roads so far this year. So with that 2,500 yards, we'll basically be 50,000 yards on the roads this year, which is a lot higher than normal, but
Usually
it's
what,
making a difference.
about 30,000 usually? No, that's good. The gravel that Campbell crushed, where's it coming from?
It's the pile sitting by the highway in the north, I think. When you go to Birch River, there's that pile
Okay,
sitting there.
okay.
I believe that's the pile.
Okay.
Minnetonus has used some of it, but we're going to have some of it as well.
Oh, that's good.
So it should be the same quality as the other Birch River gravel.
Good.
Are we ordering culverts or?
We have,
We have already?
yes.
Okay.
They should be
should,
arriving shortly.
We should maybe look at what we might need for extra, because I hear through the grapevine that culverts are going up 30% next year.
Interesting. Okay, we'll get staff to call and have that discussion and see about next year.
Find out
pricing.
for sure if it is, but that's,
Well, we'll have that conversation with them, because they're usually pretty good. If there's that plan, they'll probably tell us, and we can just order some more this year, because it would save a lot for what we need for next year.
who are we getting from?
We usually buy them from Armtech through the AMM.
Okay. They supply province?
Supply most of it. They're the ones that are pre-qualified for the tendering. I think they're the only ones around right now that do metal. There is another place in Yorkton that does the plastic ones.
Okay.
They're a little cheaper than Armtech for the plastic, we bought some there last year, but we're after metal ones right now, so we bought them from the place that does metal.
We'll talk a little bit more in camera about that.
Okay. Other questions or discussion on this budget stuff so far? It's not bad. You'll notice the very end line, something doesn't seem right. So it's showing we only have $561,000 left to run the municipality for the whole rest of the year, which isn't exactly accurate. So there's a spot in here, if you go back a page under fiscal services, the education foundation levy and local levies of $1.1 million, give or take, are showing as expended, but not as budgeted. And so that's causing that difference at the end. So really you would add that to it. So we have about $2.5 to $2.6 million left. But there's a lot of things that we pay every year that aren't done yet. For example, physician recruitment hasn't been paid out. And lots of those things we tend to leave as long as we can because we'd rather us have the interest in them. So we'll pay it by the end of the year, but there's no need to pay it early. Because at the moment we collect interest on it. Any other questions on any of this? I know it's a lot of pages to go through, but hopefully it gives you some idea where we're at. And you're always welcome to call and discuss or come in and see the CAO or whoever and ask more questions about it too if you don't have them yet at the meeting. And a copy of it is attached to the agenda in the public view for anyone that wants to see how budgeting is going so far here. The general checks are locked. Is there a reason why?
There's just some with some names on them. Is that okay?
That's their own problem. They get a check. I'm going to unlock them so you can see the general checks too. Okay. So I think that finishes off all the finance items. Everybody's good to move on. Let's go to discussion 7.1. Benito waste disposal. 100% so I can see it. So a copy of the letters attached. We spoke last meeting, we had the verbal report, this is the actual written one. So the inspection was completed on August 13th, some items that require attention. The active area has limited capacity for future waste acceptance. It's recommended that immediate action be taken due to the upcoming date for construction of the leachate collection pond in the fall. The site will require an engineering assessment and plans may be submitted prior to the construction of a new cell. There's unauthorized access observed near the gate on the north side of the entrance, which appears to be with an ATV. Please ensure actions taken to prevent access. Shingle pile requires relocation as it's encroaching on a drainage ditch and appears to be too close to the boundary on the east side. Mattress pile is very large and appears that staff may have difficulty managing the mattresses for disposal. It's recommended the municipality consider the mattress recycling program with Mother Earth Recycling in Winnipeg. This would require the mattresses to be stored in a shed or trailer until transport takes place. Volume plastic in the active area may be an indicator that the recycling program needs an increase in public awareness to improve the recycling program. The burn pit appears satisfactory. The animal waste pit should have a slope side to ensure safety in the event of a fall. Please ensure that the pit is pumped out prior to use. There's some scattered wind-blown waste on site and possibly caused by bear activity. One bear was observed during the inspection. So we'll action the items by September 6th. The first one there is the costly one, the idea of constructing a new cell. We are running low on space on the existing cells. There needs to be some pretty serious discussion happen about our plans for what we're doing there next. There's room for one more cell, and then the question becomes what we do after that, if we start building upwards towards the sky, or there's going to have to be some talking to engineers and see what the plan is. The unauthorized entrance, that's been a problem before. We've put rocks there before to try and block them, and then they find another place they can fit. For the most part, I think it's people coming in to take cans more than anything. So we'll put some more rocks again, I suppose. There's not a lot else we can do other than shoot the tires out, but they say that's illegal. Sure would be fun though. The rest of it will be referred to Public Works to try and take. The mattress thing is interesting. If you think that's a good idea, I did too until I find out what it costs. And the answer is, how many dollars per mattress?
I think it's 18.
18 bucks a mattress, plus we have to pay to get them to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And the ones that are there can't go because they've been wet. They have to be kept inside and nice. And discussion on any of that?
We better, gotta answer them, so we better,
Yeah. And the assistant CAO's been speaking to him a little bit about it already because we've got the permits to get those trees out of there. We're lining up someone to take the trees out. We're hoping LP might take them so they're not wasted. So we can take the poplar out of there and get that testing done, get the leachate pond construction underway. So it is being worked on. Next up, 7.2, inspection of the Lagoon facility. The grass on the berms and roadway requires immediate cutting. That has already been done since this inspection was carried out. It was on our list of things to do for about a month before that, but unfortunately Public Works hadn't got to it yet, and they got inspected in the meantime. It's extensive bulrush growth inside the lagoon cells that requires removal. They've worked on that as well. Fencing requires repairs. I believe they've been out and worked on that. Water and wastewater facility operators regulation requires that certificates all be posted. So the certificate was issued 1 or 2 days before the inspection, and the certificate hadn't got from the office to the place yet, which is how we got the note that the certificates weren't up to date. They were very right though about the classification and the organization table of organization they call it. That hadn't been updated since Carolyn Gordon was here. So that's being updated and sent in. Also, they're wanting to know about our emergency response plan as required under the regulations. Appears we didn't have one, so we're just finalizing one for them now. So we'll have an emergency response plan, and that'll all be sent in for them as well. We're working towards being done all of this by September 6th. So it's fairly well in hand. Any questions on either of those? Let's go to 7.3. Do you think we have to have all of that?
I don't know.
Really, part of it alone. So, I'll tell you what 7.3 is about, and I think we're going to come back to it after our break. I think we'll do a little rewriting there. A list is attached of outstanding utility bills. So these are folks that have not paid their water bill or such, and specifically, these are ones that are also in the tax sale. So we're adding what they owe for utilities to the tax amounts so that they will have to pay that as well to avoid tax sale because we need to get the money back for the utility. Some of them are small. There's a well key there for $105. There's a utility for $76.56, another one for $353.40, one for $719.24. That's probably the biggest one. So we'll get back to that yet tonight and pass the resolution, but we're just gonna work on the wording there a little bit. Let's go to 7.4. So this is a subdivision for approval. So a copy of this is attached as well. Thank you so much. Whereas the owner of Southeast Quarter of 2835-27 West has made application to subdivide a 6.63 acre parcel and requires approval from the Municipality of Swan Valley West as per community planning. Whereas the council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has reviewed said application along with a letter received from Municipal Relations dated August 13th, 2024, have noted the tax on the property to be divided have been paid, and further the municipality has no objection to the aforementioned subdivision. Therefore, be it resolved that we do hereby approve the subdivision of the above noted property, provided that all conditions and requirements are met as included from the letter from Municipal Relations. Moved by Councillor Blosha, seconded by let's go Councillor Zbirun. So a copy is attached for you to peruse. This is Michael Shaw, who is subdividing the yard site off. You can see in the map there. And these have not been paid yet.
No.
Okay, so I'm just gonna update this to say they have not yet been paid.
Sorry.
Have not yet been paid. So the resolution is just gonna say have not yet been paid. And further, that we have no objection to the aforementioned subdivision. What the tax thing does when we do this, it ensures the taxes are paid as the subdivision is processed.
Yeah, and they're
Just so
not
they
paid
don't get-
because they're not due yet.
Exactly, yeah, it's not.
So it's not,
behind.
it's not, just so that's known that it's not
Yeah,
negligent.
no, it's not behind, it's just a matter of, in fact, I probably can't say, but they're not even all of them are outstanding. Some have been paid already. The whole thing hasn't been paid yet. And so what's recommended from municipal relations is that we require it as part of the subdivision to make sure that the parties don't end up fighting about it after the fact for who should have paid it. So it'll just be noted that they need to pay it before this is processed. Does anyone have any concerns with subdividing this? It's on the road, it's actually on Highway 46, so the access isn't even our problem. If an additional access needs to be built. Questions, comments, concerns from anyone? If not, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Moving to 7.5, Animal Control Report for July. A copy of the Animal Control Report is attached. A couple calls on there, a complaint about a raccoon in the neighbor's garage. The garage torn apart, laying around, attracting rodents. Matter is referred to the office to contact the resident. I believe they did that. Also complained about a family of skunks in a yard. Contacted the neighbor, discussed the possibility of skunks living in the shed at the back of the yard, offered them to use live traps to try and catch them, because that would be fun. But that is the report so far. Any discussion on that? July, be approved, be received. This written resolution be resolved, the animal control report for the month of July be received and approved for payment. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick and Councillor Kushniryk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 7.6 property condition. This has been discussed many times in camera. Tonight we are coming to discuss this in open council. So this relates to a property in the Kenville area. It's the property at 324, 328 West Street in Kenville. You'll more commonly know it as the trailer with the addition on it that's in unsafe condition. So some photos are attached here of the property. Council has been discussing this for some time and has been working on the action we're being taken about this. So I can update you tonight that the property, we have reached an agreement for resolution. The property is being sold. The new owner has agreed to remedy this situation. Further though, we have indicated that the property must have been made safe before tonight's meeting. I had intended to go peek at it on my way here, but I've been in Dauphin all day, so I didn't do that. I doubt anybody else has been out. So what we threatened was that if the holes weren't boarded up by tonight, we would be attending to board those holes up and adding it to taxes. But they had hoped to do that prior to tonight, and then the entire place is going to disappear shortly thereafter. The lawyer has been working already on the sale documents from what we understand, so they're just finishing that up to transfer the ownership, and then this should be in our done pile. So there certainly would be some that would say we probably should have pushed harder there and fined and done things, but we're trying to find resolution of people if we can work with someone to solve the problem rather than just simply charge them a bunch of money and still have the problem there. So I think this is going to have a pretty good resolution. I know it's something council's been working on for a while. I know I've heard from people that think we don't necessarily do anything, but I wanted to at least have this update for you in public council tonight to remind folks that we are working on the complaints we receive. We've had a few properties that have issues and we continue to work on them to try and resolve those, but in a way that is somewhat amicable. So if we can't find amicable resolution, we'll proceed in a way that's harsher, but I at least always prefer if we can come to an agreement with somebody to have the problem taken care of in a better than us simply showing up with a traco kind of way. Could be fun though. Any questions on that? Let's go to 7.7. We have a letter from the Durban Cemetery Board. So this is from Rick Actor, he's the chairman of the board. He indicates that upgrades are being made at the cemetery. Cleanup of headstone and grave covers is planned for the spring. There's a major issue with cemetery patriots. It says the problem is the growth of moss. Conditions are so bad that headstone names are no longer visible. The conditions are a result of years of neglect. The catalyst of this problem is the constant dust clouds coming from the adjacent roadway because of a high level of log truck traffic. Moss needs a dirt medium to exist, therefore the board is requesting the municipality provide dust suppression in the future for the road adjacent to the cemetery. And our assistant CAO was researching moss because she's the horticulturalist of the two of us. And the answer is?
Moss does not need dirt to grow.
Those headstones are pretty old,
So, what response would council like to give to the Durban Cemetery Board about providing dust control to prevent the moss? Councillor Blosha?
Well, if they want some dust control there, maybe they should be asking the LP and Spruce Products, maybe they'd provide some dust control there.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Other discussion? Anybody else have thoughts, comments, ideas? Are we of the mood to provide free dust control there? Not seeing a lot of shaking heads in the yes direction. That would be probably 1,000 feet at least, maybe 1,500 feet.
So do we have to supply to all of them?
If you do one, you should do all, is the problem.
Well, and our assistant CAO has told us that's not the cause of the moss.
I know, but so,
It's just, but if it is a haul road, not our haul road, so maybe those guys could, maybe that cemetery board could talk to those guys.
Okay. A time will come when we're going to have to start thinking about using calcium as part of gravel retention. I'm not necessarily saying here for this reason, but when you look at the price of gravel and the price of calcium, a time will come that some of these haul roads are going to need calcium on them to keep the gravel on them. Because it'll be cheaper to put calcium than it will be to replace the gravel after a year of heavy traffic. But I don't think we're there yet, but we're getting close to it as gravel prices keep increasing and calcium doesn't go up as much. So we will refer that off to staff, and you and I can maybe have a conversation about that this week and talk about what we can discuss with them. 7.8 Hunt Agriculture Inc. This has been to council before. This is for the leasing of the road that is not currently used between the two properties owned by those folks to use for purposes of a runway for an airplane. So what we talked about doing here before was that we would lease the property to them with some conditions that they had to maintain ownership of both sides of the road. The idea being that if one of the properties should sell, we would need that road back to provide access. So if they sell any of that chunk of land, the lease terminates. So the road is available for us. That they can, do little changes. For example, if the son buys it from the dad or whatever, we're fine with that as long as this works out. That it must be maintained in such a way that will not prevent it from being a road in the future. So no digging big holes in it for the fun of it. It has to still look kind of road-like when you're done, but a runway looks a lot like a road. They're responsible for permits and conditional use authorizations. So the next step here will be asking for permission to use it as a runway. They're responsible for any registration or requirements to operate as an aerodrome. They hold us harmless, the municipality staff, agents, and heirs from any claim arising from the use of the property. They grant authority to control access to ensure the safety of the public. So essentially a sign that says this is a runway, don't drive on it type of deal. They have the right to terminate the lease with 1 year notice to us. We have the right to terminate only if it's required to provide access to the adjacent land or if the ownership changes. So essentially we'll let them use it until they don't want it or they sell that land. And they agree to pay any unpaid lease amounts together with interest costs. If they don't pay this lease, we can charge it to the roll as taxes. And it sets out the consideration that we will calculate the area of an acre is multiplied by the average assessment per acre of the immediate adjacent property times by the mill rate. So essentially their cost to lease this will be paying the taxes on it. So they're not getting the land for free. Has everyone had a chance to read that ahead of time? Has anybody had concerns about it? Are you good with it?
Good.
Okay. So I'm just gonna add some text in here and we'll get this approved. Be it resolved that the lease agreement between the Municipality of West and Hunt Agriculture Inc. Public land as in the lease be approved yet further resolved. The resolution reads, be it resolved that the lease agreement between the Municipality of Swan Valley West and Hunt Agriculture Inc. for a portion of public land as detailed in the lease be approved, and be it further resolved that the Reeve be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of council. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, and I see Councillor Kushniryk as well. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We will move to 7.9. So this will make a lot more sense if we give you an update on the hall first. So I met with the hall board representatives late last week, and the insurance company would like an answer by the end of August. So this week on what's happening with the insurance claim. As you know, we met with the larger group of them before. They told us they didn't believe it was worth spending $80,000 of public money on trying to fix that roof. So what we have come to is there's only one other option, take the cash settlement for the hall. So there's a bunch of concerns with that. Their primary concern is they didn't want the cash settlement to disappear into general revenue of Swan Valley West and be gone forever, and then what happens? So the specifics to this bylaw tonight is to establish a reserve fund called the Community of Kenville Reserve Fund, where that money will go into and sit separately. It further establishes in the bylaw that the money will be spent by a representative of council and 2 representatives from Kenville. Well, and they don't have the ability to sign a check. They have the ability to say, yes, we're okay with council spending it. And then council will pass the resolution. So some discussion has been possibly some sort of war memorial, possibly some sidewalk repairs in Kenville. There's some spots they might want the sidewalk fixed where they might use some of that money. We didn't want to give that money to the hall board because what would they do with $200,000? And it creates some governance issues, I think, of giving that money to a group that doesn't necessarily exist. They spoke at length about what to do with the hall. They were working on trying to heat it for this winter anyway, and then decided this spring if they're tearing it down or not. And so I asked a lot of questions about why. What is their ultimate goal with that? If in the spring they're going to tear it down, why would you heat it for the winter? And essentially it comes down to they don't want to give up on it yet. They are hoping that something comes along. So I said, we have had inquiries here from people wanting to purchase the hall, that want to do the repairs on it and renovate it into maybe some residential space, which would be a doable thing. It could be commercial space if someone did the repairs on their own. So they're quite concerned about insurance coverage, they're concerned about a variety of things. And so I said, ultimately, why do you still want the hall? Is there some reason that you're losing sleep at night about this hall? Well, no, we just don't feel right making it the municipality's problem. I said, well, as nicely as I can say this, that's what the municipality is here for. It's for it to be our problem. So they're going to discuss turning in the keys and having us look after the hall. I haven't seen that letter. It hasn't come for tonight unless it showed up today, So they're probably going to meet later this week, probably the first day it rains because they're harvesting, and have that discussion. What I told them is that our last option would be tearing the hall down. If we can find something else to do with it, if we find someone that's willing to change it into something, any of that, that would obviously be the direction we would go first, because it would become a revenue property then for Kenville. We'd have some new growth there. So I also told them that we probably would be of a mind if they felt it was they feel if we take the heat out of it for the winter, it's gonna do irreparable damage to it. I said, well, how much did it cost? Well, $5,000 or $6,000 to heat it for winter. Well, I said, council will probably just eat the bill for that and heat the thing for the winter and see if we can find somebody to do something with it. So that's why you see this resolution tonight for this bylaw, to get it. We'll do 2 readings tonight, we'll come back to it next meeting, finish it off. By then the insurance check might be sitting here waiting to go into it. But is everybody okay with that idea of keeping the money separate so we know where it is, and then buys us some time of money doesn't get lost. We don't accidentally spend it on a gravel road and don't have it anymore. It's sitting separately. Your thoughts?
That's fine by me.
Okay.
Were you saying that some parts they were gonna maybe save and send to the museum? Or is it the museum?
So
The
they
stage?
offered-
The stage or something?
They offered the entire building to the museum to be moved. The
Oh.
museum doesn't feel they have the funds to do it.
Yeah,
So there has been discussion about relocating the stage
Yeah.
to the museum. And that's fairly serious discussion. And what would happen, like the stage, if you've ever been in the hall, the stage is one of the old time hall stages, right, with the back doors, and it's
Yeah.
just this really nice thing. But behind it, everyone that's ever performed in the hall or had anything there has autographed it. So the back walls of those stages that the public doesn't see has hundreds and hundreds of autographs and messages from people and dates that stretch back a lot of years. And there's some real amazing history there. So what's been discussed at the museum is the current museum hall doesn't have a permanent stage. It has a portable stage that's driving everyone nuts. So the talk is to build a permanent stage there as part of a renovation that includes washrooms to increase the hall capacity. The stage would be built brand new, so it was to code, but then the Kenville stage would be taken apart and those autographs would be put on the back, and it would be basically faced with that material that's there, because that stage wouldn't be to code if you moved it, but you can carefully take it apart and put it back together on top of a brand new stage frame. So you end up with something that looks like the Kenville Hall stage that preserves all of that history that's there, which I think would be quite nice to do. And the museum seems very interested in doing that, and there's a good possibility that some of this money might in the end go towards doing some of that too. But that would be something for the Kenville folks to have some input on. The reason that the bylaw calls for 2 Kenville community members to be part of it is so that it's something to do with Kenville, right? The community has some say in where it goes rather than it just disappearing off to the cause du jour.
So how much to fix the roof?
So the insurance cash settlement is about $220,000, $230,000. That's about what they were going to pay to fix the roof, plus the $80,000 we had to put in. So it was around $300,000 to $400,000 to fix it the way the insurance wanted to. Their way of fixing it is to take the entire roof off, put an entire brand new roof on, and then patch everything in the building that you've done, which is how you get to that kind of money. There's 6 rafters that are broken. So certainly if you were going to repurpose the building, you put a supporting wall down the middle for whatever you're doing, you're halfway there, to solving the problem. The building's never been condemned. It was inspected by an engineer. They said, it's not great, but it's not condemned. It could be used today. A few of the ceiling tiles have fallen, and there was some fear from the hall board that if additional ceiling tiles fell during the event, they'd be liable for that, which is why they stopped using it.
So is it possible that a guy could just take the roof off where those 6 rafters are, replace them, put the roof back on? It would cost, I don't know, would it cost $80,000 to redo that? And then you got the rest of the money sitting in the bank and you say, here's your haul back?
We shall see. There's a few complications. It could be insured again by us after that, once we take this cash settlement for it. The rafters that are up there, some of them have been patched previously for the same issue. So part of that would become what the building inspector was willing to allow or not allow. If you can get a building inspector to sign off on the repair job, you might not even have to take the roof off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really, the hall is never being used. So put all that into something that's not being rented or used anymore. It's,
Prior to COVID, they had 6 rentals in a year, which is, maybe it was 12, but it was less than $1,000 of rental income a year
it's
coming in.
just not feasible.
But it could be made into
Something else.
somebody, some of the people who've expressed interest are in the trades themselves that could do something with it. The hall board would like, if a commercial venture would like to locate there and do something. As soon as it's not a public space, it becomes a Part 9 building. And Part 9 buildings are a lot easier to comply with. As long as it's a hall, it has to comply with a different part of the building code. But if it's residential, if it's certain types of commercial, it would become Part 9. And that would allow our own building inspector to go and approve the rafter changes instead of having the fire commissioner approve them, which would be, well, our standards are obviously the same. It might be a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start into the first resolution here. Be it resolved that bylaw number 0111-24, being a bylaw of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, to establish a reserve fund for the community of Kenville shall be read a first time this 27th day of August 2024. Is there a mover? Councillor Blosha, and I see Councillor McGregor in there as well. A copy of the bylaw is provided to council at first reading as required. That's attached to the public view as well, so folks can see it at home. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. We will move to 710. Be it resolved that bylaw number 0111-24, being a bylaw of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, to establish a reserve fund for the community of Kenville, shall be read a second time this 27th day of August 2024. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Zbirun. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. This will return for third reading next meeting. We can still make changes if needed if you think of anything. Third reading will be a required vote as required by law. Number 8.1, motor carrier points. This is correspondence from Transportation Infrastructure. We just thought you might find some of this interesting. There indicates a change in how they assign reportable accident performance points to our safety record starting on August 7th. So it goes into a bunch of details on there, what happens before and after, but we are a motor carrier these days because we have a safety profile with them because we operate that semi and a couple other things. So there it is. You're ultimately responsible for it, and now you know. Any discussion or questions on that? Let's go to number 10, committee reports. We will start with let's start in the middle, Councillor Blosha.
No committee reports. I had to come in and sign some checks for the Health Foundation, and that was about it. Summer's usually slow.
I was going to say, summer's over now. You
Yeah,
can go back to work.
Back to work. Thanks.
Councillor Burick.
No committee reports.
Councillor Zbirun.
No committee report.
Councillor McGregor.
I had a library meeting last night. It was a pretty standard meeting. There was some work done on some of the policies, and some of the wording was changed or put up today. But that's pretty much it. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill meeting. Everything went well.
All right. Councillor Kushniryk.
Just the LED, and the most important thing discussed there will be later on in camera, so.
All right. For my part, I have been out to the Benito water plant and looked at the work that was done there with regards to the backup pump. It has been tested and is working, so we should not have any more boil water orders issues in Benito, at least not from low water pressure because of that. It'll be something different next time, but that has been resolved. We are going to do a little bit more work there. So we're going to add one more pressure gauge because right now, the way those backup pumps work, there's a T system, and we don't know exactly which pressure each one is cutting in at. So we have a separation valve there, but we'll put a pressure gauge in so we can lower the pressure slowly just to those valves and see exactly when each one clicks to make sure they're set. We want to make sure we catch it before it gets below 20 psi. So we're aiming for about a 30 psi set point on that emergency pump. And we're just going to make sure that's really what it is. And we don't want to turn the water off to do it. I'm going to put a water order. So we're going to do it this way just to make sure that we have that right. Because it takes it a few seconds to start. So the pressure doesn't go to zero instantly, but it goes pretty quick. So we're thinking 30 psi is where we want to be. So we catch it by the time we're getting down to about 21, the pump is going and bringing it back up. So we're going to do that. I did speak to staff and management has as well. There were some concerns that Some work was being done there without supervision of a certified operator. So we're going to tighten that up and make sure that nobody is in that facility without supervision from somebody that has certification as is required. Just to make sure that we don't have someone do something they shouldn't do without understanding what the system is. And we do have some certified folks around, so it won't be an issue, it's just a matter of getting it done. On the waterfront, notice is being sent out today-ish for water line flushing coming up in Benito. So we're going to mail that to every mailbox in Benito. It costs us $50 or something to do that, just to make sure people know. We're going to post it on Facebook as well. We're probably going to put up some signs in the town, just to let people know flushing will be happening. A little later this fall, we'll be doing sewer line flushing as well. We intend to notify ahead of that as well to make sure people know and are prepared for it, so there's no surprises. The water line flushing isn't expected to cause an issue, except possibly some discoloration to laundry if someone happens to be washing their whites at the time. So that's why we're going to warn people ahead a little bit. There's an outside chance that when you flush water lines, they can mess with your toilet a little bit. If your thing is already half plugged, it might do something that makes it so water doesn't come in as fast. But usually it doesn't. It's just in the realm of possibilities, so we let people know ahead. I missed the library meeting last night. Unfortunately, I had intended to be there, but life happened with the power outage, and I was at work until about 10:30 last night, so I didn't get a chance to attend. But I was glad that Councillor McGregor went. He did us proud and carried the flag for us. The library is officially taking over Spooktoberfest. So if anyone's interested in helping out with Spooktoberfest, library board's looking for some help there. There's an organizational meeting for that coming up Thursday night in the library. I believe it's 7 p.m. If you're interested, I can check the time for you to make sure I have it right. But if you've got some time and want to help them out, they'd love to have you there and part of that. And that goes not just for your immediate us, but if your family or friends are interested, they certainly need as many volunteers as they can get. It's going to become a fundraiser for the library, which is a good thing. They're hoping to get $5,000 or $6,000 out of it to give the library some more wiggle room to do some more capital projects and do well with things. I've taken in the last couple of weeks a substantial number of policy and procedure questions about municipal operations. I'm sure some of you have as well. Most of the questions at their root relate to another municipality, not ours. So what I've been trying to do every time that I'm asked those questions is I'm trying to give as best I can an answer that reflects what the Municipal Act says. And then I also provide the answer from Swan Valley West's view, but I want to caution that each municipality has a different procedures bylaw. So as things are in Swan Valley West is not necessarily as they are in neighboring municipalities. So I know as we all get those questions, we all tend to answer from the answers we know, which is how things work here. But sometimes how things work in other places are different. And when you visit a foreign land, sometimes the customs are different. So I just want to mention out loud here that as I know we all get those questions and more of them in the last few days, try to be mindful that as you give those answers, if you can, remind them that this is how Swan Valley West does it, but your mileage may vary someplace else. Ultimately, it's up to the person asking the question to read the act and figure out what it says, which, for better or for worse, is something that is long reading, but worth going through. So give me for a moment while I check my calendar and see where else I was in the last couple of weeks. And I did Cook Brothers. That was a conversation that we had in camera last meeting. I have been there and carried out that conversation. I was also, I think that's actually the only notable thing on this list since our last thing. Fire Board will meet shortly. We've received a concern from a resident about the performance of Swan Valley Fire Board, specifically to our invoicing. Not unhappy with what we did, but unhappy with getting a bill. So that's going to be referred to Fire Board for resolution. If Fire Board struggles with the resolution, it's going to come back to this council to discuss. But for now, it's going to get sent to Fire Board. So Councillor Kushniryk and Councillor Zbirun and I will deal with it there, along with our colleagues from the town of Swan River. We operate at 50-50, so it's a ratepayer in our area. So obviously we'll have our ears to the ground there. The way the Fire Board is structured, if we find that it's a 3-3 split, that we see it one way and the town sees it another way, it will go back to the councils for resolution. So there's a small chance it'll come here, although I suspect the Fire Board will deal with it. If you want details, hit me up in camera and I can tell you exactly what happened. It's a non-issue, except that I could see how it rubbed the resident the wrong way, what happened after the call. I believe that's my report for this evening, unless anybody else could remind me of something I should have mentioned. Maybe we should take a moment to talk about Public Works before we get out of here. So there's been a few developments there. We spoke just very briefly about that trailer. It was to be a resolution tonight, but it's not here yet. It may come after the in-camera, if we have some time, we'll throw it in yet. Otherwise, it'll be next meeting to approve the purchase. But we have discussed via text message and got authorization from everybody to purchase the trailer for the tracker. And the trailer is here now. I believe its safety was valid, although it might have been valid in a different province, but they'll work that out. Very shortly, we'll be able to move that hoe around without a cost. So we were spending $600-700 each time we moved it. Certainly Public Works is excited about that. They're more than excited. They're talking about moving it 2 and 3 times a day because they can take it out and do all these culverts and stuff without costing thousands of dollars. On the culvert front, some of those are being done. This assistant CAO has a list. She's been diligently working with Public Works to go through that list and mark off the ones that are being done and make sure we're keeping track of it all. We're trying to get through them all. I'm not saying we will, but we're certainly trying our best, which is why culverts are on order now, because we have a pretty good idea of which size we need for each of those jobs. So the ones that we're a little short on are coming. That's the good news. Here comes the rest. So the mower tractor, I think you're all aware there was an issue happened there. It was found that the wheel bearing was bad. So our tractors spent a lot of time tipped in a ditch, as you can imagine. But they're also, for better or for worse, municipal tractors, which means people don't always care for them as much as they should as time goes on. We had a couple of years ago an issue with one where the power takeoff was destroyed in one because someone didn't pay enough attention to what they were doing. And I'm not suggesting that we know the cause of this, but upon inspection of the wheel bearing, it was found that there's additional issues with the tractor. So there's some cracked gears, and I believe it was the differential, if I understood him right. I haven't seen the tractor. It's at the dealership right now. The repair estimate is $30,000.
What was the other one we fixed was what, 10 or 9?
Yeah, somewhere there. I think so. So I did do some checking. Once repaired, that tractor is valued at between $50,000 and $60,000 as, you know, that age. A new tractor, similar size, is north of $200,000. So $60,000 or $30,000 to repair it.
Yeah.
While it's a lot of money, it's not $200,000. And I would like to suggest our staff is taking better care of things now. So I think that it's worthwhile spending it. If we don't spend it, even if we spend it and sold the thing, it's worth 50 or 60. If we don't spend it, it's worth 0. So it doesn't make much sense to not do it. You may remember that the one grader was pulled. You all look at me with such happiness in your eyes. For the spinny part, so on the grader you don't have the mold board, and there's the spin, whatever rotating piece it is. Circle bar. That's
Circle
good.
bar,
Yeah. So we knew it was bad, and we have actually spoken to John Deere about doing it before, and the price was high. So they are doing it, I believe, locally here. $10,000 is the answer for fixing that, which again, sounds like a lot of money, but you get a lot of driving out of that after it's done. So that's work that's going to be done shortly. How many times did Chad call me today? Because every time he called me, it cost money. And the third time he called, he even said, "Are you sick of answering your phone yet?" And I said, "Is this going to cost more?" He says, "Sure is."
Should have said, how much now?
The first call was about the gravel, so it costs money, but we already heard about that. So that's the update there. Our mower person, one of them is done already. So she's moved on along, but we're short the tractor. I have asked Public Works to devise a double shifting plan for the existing mower to see if it can't be working 2 shifts a day. See who's willing to work later hours, so it works twice as hard, so we still get mowing done. The repairs on this tractor are estimated to be several weeks.
So I must have talked to Chad after you.
Okay.
So there is a plan in place where one operator will run during the day, the other one is going to run from 3 till 10 p.m. I believe. Or as late as he can till it's dark.
10 is
Any
dark,
hours,
9 is dark. Right?
any hours that he's short, he's gonna work Saturday and mow to bring his hours up.
So our hoping is to not affect mowing greatly. Obviously, we won't be going back and forth
Yeah.
between areas.
No, but
we'll
at
mow
least
a lot
finish
faster
one
as we're
and-
going and then carry on. So we'll work that out as best we can.
How's the scrubbers working or they're not working?
Oh, the scrubbers are amazing. We haven't been putting much wear and tear on them at all.
The skid steer,
Maintenance has been good this year.
Haven't wearing out any knives or
No.
nothing, eh?
Good stuff.
Ward 6 is waiting, boy,
It's good that you have patience.
waiting impatiently.
You heard Bill say tighten the belt and
Yeah,
it's to be
tighten the
tightened
You
someplace,
think
right?
how easy it's gonna be to come up with your list of what needs to be scrubbed next year?
Yeah.
I did run into a ratepayer yesterday who very loudly explained that we need to start spraying these trees that we're scrubbing. I tend to agree, but we'll have to figure out how we can legally do that. Because Hydro does that a lot. They scrub, let it grow for a year, spray them, and it saves going back and scrubbing a couple years later.
Oh, there's been trained really, right?
Trains
They-
do
they
it, Hydro
spray.
does it, they all, and we have that same raw ability. We just have to get our ducks in a row to do it properly.
But the skid steer is sitting, and nobody's running it?
As far as I know, it's
Okay, because the other one, you got nothing, no, we didn't have a trailer, but. With the skid steer, you can.
on the skid steer front, the deck is on the 450?
550, yeah.
550. Deck's on, it's all good. The gooseneck trailer is all hooked up to it, so it transports it just fine now. So that's all finished off. We have not given any thought in Public Works or my circles as to the piece of road we promised Councillor Neely out by the airport. So at some point we need to take a peek at that and figure out if there's anything we can do for it, because it was on our list of things to do this year. And tomorrow morning, the bridge, which also hasn't quite made it here for resolution, but will later on, will be paved. So that is the bridge south.
Is it Johnson Bridge they
Garbage
call
dump.
it? Johnson, the south of Swan?
Yeah, straight south of the dump. Does that sound like the
They
right
call
one?
it the Johnson Bridge.
So it was reinvigorated about 10 to 12 years ago. Lots of work was done to it. Since then, heavy traffic has destroyed the bridge deck. Not the timbers so much as the asphalt. Once the asphalt comes off, the timbers start getting wet and then the bridge rots. So there's a 4x5 foot chunk totally gone. The rest of it's totally cracked. So we will be repairing that tomorrow morning and new asphalt on top of it and carry on along. Something is going to have to give with the weights the trucks are running. Now, I'm not suggesting that we are limited to like 2 teaspoons of grain in them, but we've been watching traffic patterns. I think we'll see it again here shortly. 216 is a haul road, and 216 is meant to be used all the way to Highway 10, and then 2 miles of Highway 10 up to the elevator. But a substantial number of trucks are turning prior to Highway 10, going up a little back road and then across 218. And the stated reason for that is because they're overweight for Highway 10. So if they drive on the pavement, they'd receive a ticket. So instead they meander through our gravel, only cross the highway so they don't get a ticket, but ultimately they're running more weight on our gravel roads than legally allowed on our RTAC highway. And that is the type of things that does this damage to bridges. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. Like, I think no one here necessarily has the appetite to limit weight substantially, but it would be nice if people were running RTAC weight, which is what's legal everywhere else, instead of running something heavier. So I don't know where we're going to go with that, but maybe it's an education campaign. Louisiana Pacific used to have that problem, and they solved it by weighing the trucks and punishing anyone that comes in overweight. I don't know that Richardson would be game for that, but obviously that material's ending up at that elevator. They know what those weights are when it comes in. They know if those trucks are running 10 or 20,000 pounds overweight, which is pretty easy to do. The other side of it is it doesn't always go to the elevator. Sometimes during harvest it goes home, and you can understand it during harvest. And the reality is, during harvest it's not as bad because the roads are always drier at harvest time. You know, you're not usually taking grain out of a field when the roads are wet. But in the springtime, if you're hauling to the elevator and you're hauling that heavy, you do a lot of extra damage. So, something, if someone comes up with a miracle solution for it, tell me all about it. Because it would be great to, we have to find that balance of not wrecking the stuff, but not being
Is that
restrictive.
why these guys bought the grader?
Kind of under it.
fix their own roads, they fix them, I don't know.
Campaign for 275 to be our tech.
They're not going to be.
I know it won't be, but I mean, if, like you said, get enough people phoning in, writing in, you know, get enough people complaining and need a force behind it.
So I believe that finally concludes my rather short report for the evening. Any other discussion before we take our break?
I don't know, I should have maybe mentioned that, but I mean, that project along
Oh, yes. you should
Saskatchewan,
mention that.
Manitoba, I sent you a picture. It's complete, the project, bank stabilization at the border.
The shared road.
Yeah, Barkman did it, completed maybe 2 weeks ago.
We should be seeing a report from Watershed shortly, and once it comes, it'll be on the agenda for everyone to take a peek at. They should send some sort of completion report. But it looked pretty good, those pictures I saw.
Yeah,
It should save the
Excellent.
road, so it won't be
Yeah.
eroding away.
yeah, excellent job, did a good job, looks good.
Anything else? If not, we will take about a 10-minute recess. We'll reconvene here and we'll be going in camera after that. Tonight we're discussing the custodian for this office. We have a complaint from a ratepayer that, well, it says ratepayer single, probably put an S on that. It's the same complaint coming from several places. And council will be particularly amused by 11.1.2, a discussion of water versus sugar.
Sounds good.
It will be entertaining. We will be in recess for about 10 minutes, folks. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We are going to go in camera. We do have a couple of resolutions we're going to do after the fact, but it's stuff we already discussed here tonight. We just got them written during the break. So go to 11.1. Be it resolved that pursuant to section 1523 of the Municipal Act, Council shall meet as a committee of the whole to close the meeting and continue discussions in camera regarding personnel matters, negotiations, preliminary discussions, investigation or enforcement of an act or bylaw, security of documents or property. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick and a seconder. Councillor Zbirun. Those in favor? That is carried. All right, coming out of the in-camera session, we're going to go back to a couple spots on the agenda. So let's move back to 7.3. We've cleaned that up. Whereas the Municipal Act provides an amount owing to the municipality may be added to the tax rolls, be it resolved that the outstanding accounts as per the attached list of accounts numbers, service addresses shall be added to the respective rolls, being roll 2800, $105, roll 2129, $900, $76.56, roll 308, 000, $353.40, roll 309, 800, $719.24. Is there a mover? Councillor McGregor and someone to second the resolution. Does anyone wish to second? Councillor Burick.
Well, we know you're on the next one.
Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. We also have a couple other housekeeping items we needed to get to, and we've added those in here. 11.4.1, purchase a flatbed trailer. Be it resolved that the council approve the purchase of a used flatbed trailer for $65,000 to be used for transporting equipment as provided for in the 2024 capital budget. Is there a mover? Councillor Kushniryk, someone to second the resolution. Councillor Zbirun, any discussion?
I've got 11.31.
I reordered it to get it so the adjourn goes before it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it was going to end up looking like in the minutes, like we passed these before we came out of in camera.
Okay.
So I wanted
So
to
how
just,
wide is this trailer? 8,
10.
10? It is a 10? Is that what they were hoping for, a 10? Good.
it seems in fairly good shape.
Yeah, no.
We might have to do a little work. There's always going to be a little work,
Yeah.
but
It needs a cylinder redone, $500 or $600, and one tire, I think is all it thinks it needs.
we got a $5,000 discount for having to do that. So, because it was going to be 70, we got down to 65 because the cylinder needed fixing.
That's good, good.
Any
Good.
further discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That too is carried. 11.4.2, be it resolved that council approve the pavement repairs for the Johnson Bridge. The estimated price is $17,000. Is there a mover? Councillor McGregor and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Burick. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Is there any other business for council tonight?
Can I just ask one question? We talked about, I mentioned to you the brown brick. You said there had to be a study done?
We're supposed to inspect it every 2 years.
Okay, and hasn't been inspected. It's up already for inspection?
My guess would be it is.
Because like I
I
told you.
don't think we
the-
inspected it last year.
Because like I told you, the asphalt is broke on the north end of it, about a 3 foot by the width.
Okay.
It's cracked up bad, and asked them to fix it last year, and it wasn't fixed, but, no, that should be fixed, because it's just gonna keep, bleed like this one, keep breaking.
Can you check in on that, and also let's talk about those inspections? I think we're some sort of requirement that if we don't inspect it, we have to close it. So we should probably get to the inspecting instead of the closing.
It's every so many years.
That is every 2.
It's 20, I thought it was, if you look back in the records, I think it has to be inspected 2025.
Okay, so maybe we're
You
good
you
to
just
next
go
year.
look,
Okay, we'll
but
find it.
I
Yep.
honestly remember seeing that,
Perfect.
so have a look.
Anything else? Any notices of motion to present tonight? When's our next meeting date? September 10th? Be resolved, this meeting shall now adjourn at 9:17 PM. Be it further resolved, the next meeting is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 at 7 PM. Moved by Councillor Blosha, seconder tonight. Councillor Zbirun is the seconder. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you everyone for a good meeting.